Hi everyone, and welcome to our very first CyberX Village Kickoff meeting. We have amazing speakers here, and as Arun sir said, that this is completely focused on the other side of the offensive VAPT. We'll be focused on ICS, OT, drones, robots, satellites, red teaming, more towards industrial perspective, and there are a lot of other things for every one of you all to explore. And this is one of the most rarest communities because visiting various different conferences and communities as well, a community that is completely dedicated towards the other side, that is mostly towards ICS, OT, drones, and satellites and other things. It is very rare to find. So this community is specifically focused for only those things. And without a further ado, we have our very first speaker, which is Mr. Vismit. Vismit has been a dedicated professional in the security field for last 16 years, and he serves currently as a principal information security engineer in a healthcare domain. He's presented his research in some various respected conferences like RootCon, CSA, OWASP, and SMOPS. And today he's going to talk about the rise of untraceable firearms, a look at how 3D printing technology is fueling and is growing challenging, and how it possesses threat to public security, law enforcement, and existing regulation. So over to you, Vismit.
Thanks. Hello, everyone. Let me share my screen first. Hope it's visible.
Yes, it is.
Okay, thanks. Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming on this Saturday. I know it's hard to wake up on the weekends. So before we start, I just want to thanks the CyberX Village, Arun sir, Omkar, and Jenica, and the whole team. Thanks for bringing such platform where we can showcase our tools and share our knowledge and discuss like the research topic. So let's start. So, um, everyone wants a thug life, right? Like when we see a movie like a character in a movie like Rocky in KGF, or when we see a movie like Fast and Furious, or when we listen a song like The Last Ride or 295. But deep inside, we all know like all these things are fiction. Like it's really I don't say like it's impossible, but it's really hard like to live that gangster life, like to have guns and because there is lots of uh, licensing and the government, and then the cost factor is there. Now someone will defend in the chat like, okay, there are some easy laws in US, but again the cost factor is there. Now, we just think like that. Like, there is a use case like when the United Healthcare CEO, Brand Thompson, shoot using a firearm made at home. It's like a 3D printed frame and silencer. The other case studies in 2019, a high school student in California used a 3D printed firearm in a school shooting, and he shot down like few of his classmates, and several classmates are injured. So that basically raised the concern, like how easy it is like to get or build a firearm at home. So let's start like who I am. I'm Rakhecha, aka Drug. I'm CISM, SSCP, currently working as Iron Man at Evolent. And here on the space and satellite, I mostly work on that. Currently working on two projects, Helios and Orbit, you can find on Hexter. So what are ghost guns? So everything is changed in 2013 when Cody Wilson, he introduced his blueprint of homely made 3D arm guns, and within like minutes, like more than 10,000, more than 1 lakh times, it's downloaded from the online, and it's named as Liberator. So, but it's easy when we are talking about the ghost guns or when we are talking about the 3D printed guns. So, there are lots of challenges for the lawmakers, for the law enforcement, for the 3D printing community because it's easy to share the things online because you don't have to go to like a XYZ place like to buy a certain things. Now it's online. You just need a print and you can print. So there are lots of challenges for the law enforcement. There is lack of policy that we all discussed in this slide, in this session. So there are like few types of firearms. So mostly there are like three things. The first is PKC, or you can say component sourcing. The other is hybrid, and the third is fully 3D printed firearms. So obviously, like you can't 3D print a whole firearm or a whole ghost gun. So obviously, you require some other parts for fully functional firearms. So the first one is part kit uh, completion or component sourcing. So it's basically like the firearm whose frame or a receiver is 3D printed, while the rest of its component you need to purchase, like um, pistol slides or upper receiver from the commercial market. The second one is hybrid 3D printed firearms. So those firearms are most of the parts are 3D printed, but the firearm is completed with the parts not specifically designed for firearms, such as metal tubes, or you can easily buy from the hardware store nearby. The last one is fully 3D printed firearms. It's contain most of the 3D components are 3D printed, and you just need like few like firing pin or a nail. You just need to purchase that. Again, it's just a concerning topic because we are having a lack of laws and policies. That's why we are discussing. So just suppose this is the screenshot or a picture from 13-year-old kid. He is having his own firearm built factory at home. All the equipment are seized by FBI. But think like how easy it is and how what we can say like how concerning to the globe or to the community because like he's printing like n number of guns and there is no press, there is nothing, and like anyone can purchase them like uh, we will discuss later on. So anyone can purchase it, and the communication is easy. Like you can just do a WhatsApp or you can use a Telegram and you can sell these guns. Any questions so far? Or just write it down. We can discuss later on. So this is basically like the number comparison by the country, and yep, we all know like in the states there is some um, loose laws for gun culture, and now we are having a 3D printed guns or firearms. So it's really easy and concerning. The second is in Canada, United Kingdom, Australia, Italy, Spain, New Zealand, and India. So far, we don't have that such numbers. But yep, I think the STLs and the things are globally available. So finger crossed, right? We like it will soon gain the popularity in India also. So we just need to find out the way before like it comes to our country, and we need to define the policies and everything. So why it's easy? This is the best part of the slide. So like now you don't have to go to Mirzapur, like back to the Kalinmaya for a gun, and it's cheaper than the blue drums. Like you can easily get like the cost of a 3D printed gun at home. It's less than $3 to $4. It's like around the 300 or 400 rupees. And the distribution of STL files are really easy. You just need a communication or chatting app, and you can just share your STL file. Even you can upload on some version control websites, and you can just distribute over your STL files over there. You can sell it over there. So what are the current issues right now we are facing in the firearm or the rise of untraceable firearms? So the first is accessibility. The 3D printers and digital design tools are more available than before. You can easily buy a 3D printer from either Amazon or from other websites, and it's easily like delivered to your home. There is no like track of that particular things. The second is digital file distribution that we already discussed. Like design can be copied and shared online across the border. So we need international law enforcement for these things because the files are easily available over the globe. Customization and decentralized production. So component can be produced outside the traditional manufacturing channels. Mirjapur is the best example, and we don't like need a QA for that. Cost and convenience. So for some individuals, homemade production may appear cheaper or easier than often regulated finance through a legal channels. So as I think we discussed in this, like the cost is really cheaper. It's just you just need a 3D printer and the filament cost or the whole product will cost you around 3 to 400 rupees. So these are the current issues right now. I think the law enforcement community, not community, governing bodies are facing. This is a screenshot again, is the real one. So how easy the distribution is. It's a screenshot from a chatting app. So if anyone here wants to buy my 3D printed glove 26X, let me know. It's from $400. I get it next Friday. I probably could buy it from you. So it's really concerning. This is the whole process, like uh, the building of a ghost gun, not a building. So you just need a STL file, or you can use the CAD software to design your own 3D printed model, or you can Google it, or you can find on some of the forums where I think the liberator is already open. So you can just download the STL file. You just need a Silas slicer software. Either you can use Kuva, there are Bamboo Labs, and it uses the G code. Later on, the coming, as Arun sir said, like this is the first conference. Then later on, we will cover like X2, X3. So we'll cover like, okay, how G code works and how you can decode that thing, how vulnerable the G codes are. Or you can use the printer crowd software. There are available, depend on your printer, which printer you are using. Algo is also, I think they are having their own cloud software, and you just need a filament and you can just print it. It's that easy thing. So you just need like a 3D printer, a slicer software, your designing file, STL or whatever, and a filament, and you can just print it and just. So, what are the key gaps right now which we are facing and which we will discuss today? So, there is right now there is no standard to uh, check the traces of the firearms. So, uh, if we are talking about traditional firearms, so we are having a serial number. You need a license, and that can be easily traced. If you like a fan of CID, you know like how easily they can trace it. So when we are talking about a ghost gun, that's why it's known as a ghost gun. So there is no serial number. It's really hard to trace. There are countries like US, Philippines, and United Kingdom. So they started like to give a serial number to your 3D printed firearms, but again, it's really hard. Like I suppose someone printed firearms at um, his or her home. So it's really hard to track that. The second one is component sourcing or distributed component. So part may come from multiple suppliers or to be produced in different places. So that is again a second concerning part because Might be like I printed something on my system or on my 3D printed, and the second might be due to some issues. I go to my friend house and I printed there, and then I just combined it. So when we do suppose someone tracked it, and when the forensic analysis will done, so it's really hard to track the things. The third one is digital anatomy. So the design files can be shared through online platforms that we already know, and the making and the origin tracking is really difficult. Might be it's something on the dark web, or someone shared on using an email, or some there are sessions, and there are like a number of tools. Might be someone put it on a form. So the tracing is really hard. And the fourth one is your law enforcement approaches varies from different countries. So judicial's differences, as I already told you, like we need a global thing for that. Otherwise, it's like divided into the country's laws, so it's really hard. Like, what if someone shared his file from XYZ country where we don't have like a good relationship with them, or we don't have like any uh, law relationship or a common laws we are sharing. So it's really hard. Then limited forensic makers. So printed components may not always provided the same investigations, and it's really tough, like to do a forensic analysis on that. So the forensic approach. So this is the forensic approach mostly followed, like when someone do suppose someone made a firearms and got tracked. So what will be the forensic approach for that? So obviously we need to seize the printer first, microscopic surface scan, algorithm extract signatures, and seize the 3D printer and test printed products and pattern comparison. So how is that? So the 3D printed arm parts are recovered from the crime scene, the first one. So if suppose like someone used a firearm, just take a first example in 2019, someone shooted in the school. So they just collected the firearm printed or the gun, ghost gun. The second is the surface is examined under magnifications to map these tiny irregular across multiple printed layers. So like how 3D printed works. So you will get a layer by layer. Okay. And we will discuss in later part. So like if suppose I'm owning two printers of a same brand of the same version, is still the microscopic scanning, when someone do a microscopic scanning, okay, both the printers will be different. So it's easy to identify. The signature extractions and algorithm process, they scan and build a digital profile of the printer characteristic pattern. So every printer is having a different signature extractions that helps like to identify like whether this printer is used to print the 3D printed firearms or not. Then obviously you need to seize the 3D printer for later on investigations. Then the last one is the test print product or like a comparison. So the test print is scanned the same way, and they check the pattern and compare against the pattern found on the crime scene. So it's just like you have one uh, ghost gun, and when the printer is seized, they will just create another model, and then they will check the pattern layer by layer and find like, okay, this is the 3D printer used to design or print the ghost gun. And when the matches determination done, and obviously it find guilty or whatever according to the law enforcement, depend on the country. So this is the forensic approach and some of the tools which mostly used in our coming meetups. We will discuss that too. So these are some open source tools or some commercials mostly I used when I started testing or exploring the 3D printed site. So for STL file and recover 3D evidence, you can use there is a good tool which use is 3Mesh. It's basically gives you most of the information related to the feature extractions, dimensions, volume, and geometry. After that, you can use a mesh lab for mesh inspections that gives you surface artifacts and layer patterns, which we discussed in uh, test print products, where you can compare the patterns. Then there's Open3D or Cloud Compare that points out that if someone do a cloud printing, use cloud like to print that. So pointed out the cloud processing and deviation analysis. You can use Blender or FreeCAD that helps you to visualize and analyze the 3D print comparison and geometric features. There is one other tool that is GOM Inspect or 3D Slicer that basically like gives you an internal review, the tolerance and cross selections. I mostly use 3D Slicer or GUA for that. Uh, Comparative forensic analysis assessment that like you just collect all the artifacts and from Trimesh, Mesh, Open3D, and Common Spec or whatever tools you are using, and just compare all the things, manufacturer artifacts, and then you have to just report it, make a reporting that includes your metadata, timestamps, file history, comparison things, and all. Now, what we need a regulatory policy. So, serialization requirement for firearms, frame receivers, including those who made via additive manufacturing. So, uh, as I told you earlier, also like in US and Philippines and UK, the government already started like to have a serial trailing number or tracking number for firearms. So we need to make a regularity for that or a policy for that, like to use the serial numbers. But again, it's really hard. Licensing requirement for high capacity 3D printers or specific materials. So right now, I think there are no policies for such that things like if you need the high capacity 3D printers, so you can easily buy it from there are lots of vendors available. Either you can use Alibaba, there is Banggood in India, we are having Amazon in India, we are having certain other vendors. You can easily purchase that. So that will be a better like if we have some policies where you need a license, like why you are purchasing that 3D printers, and we just note down like all those details from the 3D printer, like licensing and who is purchasing that. So that will be really helpful when we are tracking such things. International harmonizations of the laws, as we already discussed, like it's a cross-border thing because once it's on the internet, it's spread over the globe, and then it's really hard like to track the things. And registration requirement for complete firearm regardless or manufacturing method. So there should be a proper method or proper registration required, and a proper one more thing I need to add over here, and a proper process or like a formal process, like if you are testing or if you are building a firearm, so you need to follow this. So that's all from my side. If you have any questions, if you have want to collab, you can just ping me. So this is my Gmail, my X, and this is my Orchid ID. Any questions? Over to panel now.
The chats have been open for everybody. So if anybody has any questions, please feel free to drop a question in the chat so we can address it.
No one? It was too bad? Or is Saturday effect?
It wasn't bad. It was definitely something new. I am still mind blown by the fact that 3D printer, somebody. We do have a question. Policies around disposal should also be in consideration. Ms. Smith?
Yeah, yeah, I think it's a good suggestion. Yeah, it's a good suggestion, Mahesh.
We also have a question saying that, so this concludes that we can track down 3D arms.
Yeah,
So, Vismit, I have one question actually. So,
yes, sir.
as we talk about the 3D printing, what do you think actually? What this 3D printing, apart from arms and everything, what someone can take advantage of that particular 3D printing and go into a different direction, like commit a crime. So, what do you think? Any question? Any sorry, any idea or I'm not saying idea about committing crime, but what do you think about the? Is there any way these people can take advantage and create some sort of weapon, some sort of kind of a technology can hack the other systems as well. So what do you think actually? And any
Yes, sir.
example if you know about it actually.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, despite of this 3D printed arm, there is really a good use case. Might be either in coming meetups we will discuss. So, there are like lots of attack scenarios which we can perform over here. Like, I think I worked on one of the research and it's published. So, how you can like because I think the 3D printers are working on G codes. So how you can like change the G codes and you can misfunctions the 3D printers and like might be if it's connected to the internet, so you can like again misuse that also. So you can like increase the heat of the bed. You can change the nozzle things. You can just change the expositions of that, and that can really miss thing. The other thing, which I think I worked for my country, sorry, for my company, there are like even in the States, so they are leveraging, started leveraging to use 3D printed for some healthcare in healthcare industries, like some 3D printed parts. And so right now, like what people do, mostly even I do, like so we mostly like search for free STLs and. If you know the CAD, so it's easy for you like to design the files. And if you don't know the CAD, so obviously you will go to internet and download some STL files from there. And there is no authenticity for that. So if I'm like suppose making a model or making a part for a healthcare, so there is no authenticity for that. And might be like I just cloned something from the internet and selling with the XYZ company. So later on, it obviously like it's not the original product. So it might be if it's used in some healthcare industry or if it's used in some satellite product. So it later on it will misfunction that.
Awesome, awesome. So as per my understanding, the companies who are using 3D printers in their premises for printing their work, printing their design and everything, there should be a policy around it
Right.
because as Smith talked about printing arm guns and everything, there should be a stringent policy, stringent verification that everybody understand, kind of need to know basis, need to know access in this case. Or rather, I'm just throwing the words actually in this case. So they should have some proper, standard or kind of compensating control where no one can go and design arms or design any malicious design which can be affect to the company or human being in this case. So that's what I am thinking to come up with the 3D printing policies in this case. That would be a good in this case.
Agreed, sir. Like we need a policies for this.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. So what do you see as the biggest security challenge posed by 3D printing firearms over the next 5 years? That's one of the question actually.
Next 5 years, I think 5 years are two more. I think if it's come to like already, it's like a big issue in countries like United States and UK, even in the Philippines. So it's really a big challenge, and it's really hard like to control these things. There are laws in countries like US and other, but it's still like they fail to control these things, and it will grow for sure. Like it will grow because it's really cheap. Like you just need like a 3D printer. I think you will easily get in. I think in India, if I'm talking about, so you can easily get in. I think 2000 around, and for printing it hardly take 200 to 400 rupees. So that's all you need. So I think obviously it will grow, and it's really concerning because what if like it's reached to some notorious gangs or some terrorists, then can easily build and use it. And like I think it's hardly take like for all the process like to build it and to assemble it, and you just need like few items from the market which is easily available. So I think in the one day you can easily build it. Okay,
Correct.
sample like surely in coming
Correct.
conferences we will definitely discuss that.
Yes, yes. Yes. Thanks, Vismit, for your effort
Thanks,
for introducing some. Yes, please go
thanks,
ahead.
Arun. That's all. Thanks to you, and thanks to CyberX Village team. I know it takes lots of effort, like to organize a meetup, and yeah, thanks all.
We are trying our best. Over to you, Janika.
Okay. Next up we have is Shiv Kataria, a cybersecurity expert with over 17 years of experience specializing in industrial control systems and OT security. His work spans national cyber defense, industrial automation, and large scale infrastructure protection across sectors like energy, manufacturing, and transportation. He is also an active contributor to security community through OT Security Huddle, where he brings hands-on learning materials for students and early career professionals. Today, his talk is about cybersecurity beyond IT, why the physical world is now the front line, exploring why OT security has become central to protecting the power grids, factories, hospitals, and cities we all depend on. Shiv, this floor is all yours now.
Thanks a lot, Janika. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, we're loud
Yes,
and clear.
yes, you are. Before you go ahead, Shiv, I would like to, talk about you. So Shiv is very awesome person. He's, in OT from long time. I'm telling you, long time. And he's a one kind of person who, really you need to follow this person. And I'm telling you, you will get a lot of knowledge about the OT from him. Actually, he's very active on the LinkedIn, and he started his the open source community as well. And you don't know, you can't believe, guys, actually, this community is very, very awesome, very active, and it gives a lot of knowledge, spread out the lot of knowledge about this OT cybersecurity to the entire world. I'm telling you, and it's very one of the awesome personality or dynamic personality in the OT cybersecurity. Thank you so much. You are coming to CyberX Village meetup, and devoting your time, precious time, to over here actually.
It's quite humbling. Thanks a lot for that wonderful introduction. I'm always happy to support these initiatives. Thank you for considering me for the session. Glad
Thanks.
that you have set this up, and it actually brings everything together. So that thought itself is amazing. And I got a chance to hear last few minutes of Vismit. Amazing session, Vismit. Bringing those perspective here is what is the community is needed. And my talk is more about the bringing up that inaugural perspective here, that why we should think beyond the traditional IT security. This has been the discussion for a few years, but recently the volume has increased towards the attack. So before I begin, I will just quickly check whether my screen is shared. You guys able to see my first slide?
Yes, Vismit, your screen is visible.
Okay, great. So thanks for confirming. Yeah. So what I'm going to talk is like how this threat landscape has evolved over the years, and then what we are heading towards. Why do we really need to focus understanding our assets better and design the cyber defense which can give us the security moving forward? I will also touch upon the evolving threat landscape of the quantum computing and also the cryptos that are getting designed for PQC. You must have heard the recent news in last 2 months at least. We see that a lot of quantum discussion started happening. In United States have also advanced their timeline for quantum computers. Google says that it would be available by 2029. And we as security practitioners and professionals need to rethink our approach of cyber defense. So having said that, let's start with this, that why we really need to think of the physical world as the front line. Earlier, there used to be the three main pillars of cybersecurity, which we generally say is the confidentiality being put up the topmost whenever you see your personal data. That's why most of the regulation across the globe, they evolve around the protection of the data itself. We have in India DPDP Act, and we have the GDPR in Europe, and recently they have also done the EU Data Act for AI as well. But when we think of the other side of security, which is the operational technology, we don't focus on confidentiality much. We focus on the other side. So this concept of focusing more through firewalls, encryption, the entire industry that was built around for decades, it was always protecting that data. The reward had changed. It had changed already almost 16 years ago, which is the Stuxnet attack that happened. And this attack has brought the knowledge to the community that whatever textbook attacks that we were learning so far, they are real and they can really impact an industry. You can sitting somewhere, you can really have the capability of opening a wall somewhere into a plant, which can overflow a tank. And there could be disasters like what happened in Bhopal back in 1984. You can also trip a breaker, shutting down the entire grid. And these attacks are not something which is imaginary. You would have seen the reports recently coming out in the Iran-US conflict that there was cyber attacks originated across the infrastructure both sides. You can stop a line. You can cut the city's heating system. This has happened. In fact, the Frosty Gope attack that happened in 2024, it has used the traditional protocol, which we already know are insecure. And the worst thing is these informations are already available. Most of you are coming from cybersecurity community, so you would know Shodan is our go-to guy who helps us into finding these devices. You can find these devices and then start attacking them, changing that bits and bytes and making a physical impact real. So that's the word that we are moving towards, and the voracity and the volume is actually continuously increasing. Stuxnet was the first one to really show the big impact, where the uranium centrifuges in Iran got impacted with increasing the frequency of the motor drive, and ultimately it brought to the knowledge of the entire world. Then the Ukraine grid, Ukraine and Russia are very close. They have this love-hate relationship, so they continuously attack each other. And there are three different variants of black energy. There are three different times that they have shut down the grid in Ukraine. Till this time, it was okay, but this 2017 attack on Triton is also a very significant milestone. Is in automation in OT, we have a fallback system called emergency shutdown system. or your safety integrity system. Triton attack had actually was targeting that ESD. What does this mean is like your secondary level of defense can also be targeted, since we are now more digitized, more connected, and these devices are talking to each other. Luckily, the system got restarted, and that's where this came to the knowledge, but it has shown that the ESD systems are also not aloof of the cyber attacks originated from miles away. Then 2021, the intruder actually tries to raise the levels into cities drinking water, which is like contaminating the water where the impact could be very large scale. Think of something like a pandemic getting spread through the drinking water the city is receiving. And then this Frostigo, again, Ukraine, 600 plus buildings, they lost their heating because this attack happened of a known protocols vulnerability. So every one of them, they already has shown that the digital domain can cross into the physical domain and it could have impacts. Colonial Pipeline is another example where the IT side of the attack, where the system into billing system and the supply chain got impacted. And because of the 17th of the United States Eastern Coast states got impacted for 6 days, there was no gasoline available. This could be something like what we have recently seen into the Iran-US war as well. And you can correlate this, that those same kind of attack can also originate from cyberspace, where you can disrupt the monitoring, where you can disrupt the pipelines, which are digitally monitored, controlled from remote locations. This ransomware has caused the impact, which also brought the knowledge that the attacks which are coming towards the IT side, they would not remain on the IT side itself. So we need to also look for the dependencies which these two systems, IT and OT systems, actually have on each other. Then the Jaguar Land Rover. Last year, almost for 6 weeks, the plant in UK was down. The overall estimated loss was close to 1.9 billion pounds. It is through not only the loss of the production, but also you can think of the cascading impact on economy, that the entire supply chain upstream, downstream, both of those sites get impacted. The ripple effect starts from the idle factories, the staff of the suppliers, and then also the dealers who would be staff for stocks. The government also have estimated that the actual impact could be much more than what the plant actually is estimated. Recent ones, why I'm using these two examples, they are the impact of the discussion that is happening recently, that the pace at which the vulnerabilities and these threat vectors are discovered, it has increased a lot. And in June itself, we have seen 2 of the plants getting impacted. If you were following the news, you would have noticed that one of them also related to Apple. And there are discussions going on, the design schematics of Apple's product line might have also been leaked through this. 630 GB of data was really lost, or it was put into dark web. Similarly, for this automotive company, the ransomware hit their own R&D facility. And R&D is actually in automation is very important department that actually tells in terms of production side, and also they have the secret information or the information that needs to be protected for. So what does these 3 different attacks teach us? That the attacks in OT also, they get originated from the traditional corporate side. Then the production side goes down through the ERPs, billing system, the operations, and then the physical world actually gets stopped. You don't really need to go into the factory and hack a robot to show the impact. Somebody sitting somewhere else can actually cause these impacts at the factory floor. phishing can be the origination. And if you go to MITRE ATT&CK framework in ICS, in fact, phishing is the one in almost 50% plus cases. Ransomware is another one that can impact. The Temple University in US actually captures the information about the ransomware attacks against critical infrastructures. And since 2013, there are close to 2,000 ransomware attacks against critical infrastructures alone. So we are actually into that era where we are more connected, more digitized. At the same time, we are more exposed to the cyber threats, and the threats are real, which are impacting our lives as well, not only the information. There is also a big challenge in terms of keeping this infrastructure secure. And the first reason itself is the nature of the technology that we are using. IT side, we always want to protect the information, the files that we are monitoring, the information, sales, and the digital assets. Whereas OT, we need to protect that wall, that motor, that sensor. It should not give you false information. And the system should work the way they are designed. So what it means is like safety is much more critical. Imagine something like a robotic arm. It's supposed to rotate at a certain speed. If the speed increases, there could be technician working at the shop floor who can get harmed. And then the robot can start throwing those stuff at the shop floor, people can get harmed. So not only we want the system to be available, we want them to be reliable and integral. They should not give us false information. Also, the downtime tolerance is very, very low in the OT side. Your laptop is not working, you can still wait for 1 day, 2 days. But suppose that system that is expected to turn off a wall, if it is not working, there could be spills that can cause much more impact on the industry. Another big challenge here is these assets are designed for a specific use case, generally 15 to 25 years of time. And when you design the system to last, the protocols with which you are designing today, the protocols might not be available 10 years down the line. And something new that is developed, you cannot retrofit them so easily. So with this, security practitioners really struggle. How do they find a way to ensure that the system is functioning at the same time the risks are minimized at the shop floor? Now, why OT is the soft target? They are generally insecure by design. The Modbus protocol, which are designed in 1979, it's an almost, even today, you will find 40 to 50% of the entire automation landscape is still running on Modbus protocol. It could be your smart meter, it could be your pumps that are getting monitored through Modbus. And this protocol is not secure. If you are on the network, you can send an unauthenticated request and this system will accept it. That's the problem. DNP3 is the same. Then we have other protocols, Ethernet IP, BACnet. All of them has the same story. So being insecure by design, if you get a initial attack vector through your IT system and then reach to the network, it becomes much more easier for the attacker to gain the persistent access. The second problem is, since security is not the thought, it's the operation that's the thought. So another challenge that you'll find here is there are credentials which are repeated across multiple plants. And most of the time, the engineers don't even bother changing them. They will keep the default credentials. So either they are default or there is a pattern that you could use. I've also seen one of the assessment that I've done last year. There was a penetration testing that we were doing, and one of the server, we did not have the credential. So what we have done, we used the combination of the organization, combination of the product, and asked ChatGPT, give me the 10 probable password. And the actual password was one of them. So also, since these engineers who are commissioning this system, they don't have the security first thinking, They will choose a combination of password that they have built as a knowledge base in their brain for last few years, and then it can be repeated. Like I have seen an engineer would say name of the organization, then he will use the device name and add the year at the end. So it is a combination of alphanumeric. Sometimes they use the special character at the rate in between, but guessing the password is not a very big challenge here. Then the air gap that used to be traditionally these systems working in isolation is slowly moving away. There is no air gap as such. We are making the system more connected because of the remote access requirement, the cloud analytics. The systems needs to be giving the monitoring data to the plant operations people. And somewhere when this IIoT and operational excellence requirements come, they forget that insecure by design thing. Without doing a risk assessment, the systems get converged. And because of this, you will also expose your asset to the attackers. I would like you to do a simple search on Sudan. Just type one of the protocol name, and you will find that there are so many of devices connected to internet with industrial protocols running. Of course, some of them would be honeypots, but still with little bit of second layer check, you can find some of the devices internet exposed. Then patching is hard. It's another challenge. You cannot patch the system. The plants are required to be running continuously. You want your power supply to be continuous. So if there is a generator, the automation system is not available as a downtime to do the patching. Post-patching testing is also something that requires time, and generally the time is not available. So you can only patch during the annual shutdowns and during those days. And then there is a low visibility. Some of the systems might not be connected to network properly. There may be unmanaged switches across the floor. So you cannot have a really good visibility of what is happening at the shop floor. Even though solutions are available, but it is the legacy architecture that makes it difficult for actually pinpointing and identifying. So the threats are actually growing. Dragos every year, one of the vendors in OT space, they release a report. And in 2025, they have reported 119 ransomware groups targeting industrial infrastructures, which was actually 80 previous year. So it could be seen as almost 50% increase in the ransomware groups itself. And I see in 2026 report, it would again be 50 to 100% increase because of the availability of Mythos Fable kind of frameworks. More than 3,300 industrial organizations got impacted. Again, almost 50% surge year on year. And 2/3 of all of these victims were from manufacturing sector, which is using industrial automation. The containment of ransomware is actually decreasing because of the sophistication, but at the same time, the number of organizations getting impacted is continuously increasing. So what is at the line? These are some of the sectors that we have directly dependency on day to day. There are power grids, there are water systems, there are manufacturing facilities, there are transportation system, and healthcare. Hospitals are also at the helm of these attacks. There could be traffic, communication, heating system. All of them are actually being controlled by the OT systems, and this is our everyday's devices that we secure and use. So securing them is everyone's job. We as security practitioners should also focus on this area. Governments are doing their best. We have regulations coming in the European region. India also is planning some regulations to be put up into this area. Organizations also need to design them more securely, specifically the standard like IEC 62443. It needs to be adopted and also being translated into actual practical implementation. These standards need not to be only into their blueprints and books. We really need them to be implemented. Then academia, plus there is also challenge in terms of making workforce trained into OT system. The reason is the investment is heavy. If a university wants to teach, for example, on water purification plant, they really need to build a simulation, and the simulation will cost almost as identical as the automation into a real power purification plant. And also there is a technical knowledge that is required by the academics. So generally it is not available. Very limited institutes are actually providing this knowledge. There is also good thing happening in last few years, like this platform CyberX Village, what Arun is doing. The industry professionals are bringing his knowledge and available to people. But yeah, there is a big way that we need to travel to ensure that our physical infrastructures are also secured and designed a responsibility to ensure that they are available and serving the way they are supposed to serve. What should we do? We should start with knowing what are the assets that we have. And even though it's the first requirement, there are still challenges. As I mentioned, there could be different legacy infrastructures and architectures that might not be designed such a way that you can directly fetch the information programmatically. So it becomes a challenge that how much of this information you can get programmatically, how much of this can be only fetched through you're visiting the factory floor and then finding these devices. There could be dependencies on the system which are not connected to network, but maybe somebody is using a laptop to program a PLC and the laptop is putting the threat into the asset. So those kind of threats are also real. Some of the example I have seen in my assessments where the quality inspection systems, which are generally not connected to the network, but they are already infected. It's because of a laptop being used, called as an engineering laptop, has the malware. And when they change the program in this quality inspection system or do some small change, the malware also get into the system. And then we need to use segmentation, creating something like different lanes of high risk lane, low risk lane, like our highways. The 62443 standard calls it as zones and conduits, and then continuously monitor. Detect, and then this detection focus will only be possible if you have the underlying infrastructure available to do that. And then you also need to train the people, the process, make sure that we have the right technology that can help us when the actual incident is struck to the floor. So this kind of sets the context on the OT security, and the message here is the front line that we used to have in the IT side. It has moved towards the physical infrastructure, and we need to do much more towards that. There is a big scope in this area. If you are a student and looking for a career, there are good opportunity. If you're a professional, then this is again a career opportunity. And if you are a practitioner, we are moving towards that era where these kind of attacks will also be seen increasing, specifically the Mythos Fable and the quantum computing. We have seen that the speed at which you can find the vulnerabilities through Mythos Fable, it's very high. And you can get that initial attack vector into the system through Mythos. And then today, you can already capture the information from factory floor. And tomorrow, when the quantum computer is available, with the encryption that we have today, it will be broken. And you can also get the secrets of the information. Imagine something like your favorite cola brand, which has their recipes running at the shop floor into the control system. They imagine that it is secure. And I get an attack today into the plant, harvest that information from the data historian. And tomorrow, when the quantum computer is available, I decrypt this and then I have the recipe. Similarly, it is for the industry like healthcare, where the pharmaceutical plant, which are running these recipes at the shop floor, they can also be targeted like this. So that's why we need to focus on this quantum era as well. that we might already be targeted, somebody silently capturing the information which we see as a secure, but we are not secure moving forward. Yeah, so I'll stop here. If there are questions, we can have few questions. And thank you for listening to me.
That was a wonderful session, Shiv. Thank you so much. This was a brief introduction, I would say, to get started into OT security. And we are filled with questions. One says that this is a question from Aditya that says, how can students start learning ICS SCADA security without access to real industrial equipments?
Okay, so yeah, that's what the CyberX Village is all about. The idea is to bring that knowledge base here. And there are already certain platforms. I think Arun's, the UNO Academy has some modules there. And then at the OT Security Huddle website and OTSec Academy website also, there are some simulation lab available. And the focus there is to actually bring that knowledge base. That you can visualize a SCADA plant into a virtual setup, learn how this control loop actually works, sense, logic, actuate, and then understand the entire ecosystem. So do explore that. I think you will find good amount of information, which we brought with our experience of understanding that there is a lack of availability of resources.
Thank you. We have one more question from Vaibhav, who asks, do Indian companies pay attention or bother with OT security at all? Can you tell us about any Indian companies who have good OT security systems?
Yeah, so 7 years ago, I started this initiative with the company that I'm currently working, and that was the time that there was very less available. But if I'm talking about today, all the new commissioning that is happening, the demand is very clear there. Then the system should also be either 62443 compliant, and there could be also sometimes a full-fledged checklist of cybersecurity controls that needs to be implemented. But the story here is not only the commissioning itself. You need to build an entire ecosystem of program that enables you that you can have a detection capability, you can have a protection capability, and you can also do incident response and business continuity. What does this mean is the investment towards training the people. The way they are working today at the shop floor is like they are free to use the pen drives. So that's not the culture that we want in OT security. So we need to train people that pen drives are not safe. Then we need to put a procedure. If somebody is requiring a remote support, Microsoft Teams, AnyDesk, TeamViewer, they are not the tool for remote support. The remote support should happen securely. And then the technology that will enable that. So Indian landscape is adopting specifically the critical infrastructures. There is an agency called NCIPC, which mandates these organizations to invest on cybersecurity. And a lot has happened in last 4 or 5 years. There are annual audits that are mandatory. There are standards that are getting put up. QCI and NCIPC jointly have created a framework released last year, which makes it mandatory for the critical infrastructure to plan a secure infrastructure moving forward. So yes, India, the corporates, big corporates, they already have their own cybersecurity capabilities and they are investing heavily. The critical infrastructures is also getting the push from the government to invest on cybersecurity.
Okay. We have one last question from Hemant. He says that in today's age where legacy code are easily compromisable, in today's tech, such as NPM, are getting poisoned from various methods, and future tech, such as quantum prompts injection, are prominent. And we are taught about zero trust policy. What are the other techniques or methods we should be learning or moving forward with?
Yeah, so zero trust has actually come as a next step after your network segmentation, which is the network segmentation and isolation. which is the one security control that gives you the highest ROI. And I think when you are designing the system, we should design the system that even if one of the system gets compromised, we should have clear-cut dependency understanding and create a plan that when the system goes down, how fast I can recover. So the question is not about in the next 5 years or 10 years, is that whether we will get compromised, whether we'll have this next gen of attacks. The question is bringing the resiliency in the system, which is like, do you have the backups which can be easily uh, used and recovered the system back? Do you have the network capability to isolate your network when the attack is detected? Do you have enough resources and people to do that? So the investment and the focus is on that area rather than this other side of security, which is the increasing threat landscape and also the technologies which are enabling it.
Okay. Thank you so much, Shiv. Any other questions that we have, we'll surely discuss after the remaining sessions are over. But for now, thank you so much, Shiv, for this wonderful session on OT security.
Thanks a lot, Janika, and thank you for
Thank you,
CyberX.
Shiv. Thank you so much. It's very, very wonderful. And please do follow OT Security Huddle. There you can get a lot of information about OT specific knowledge, and I'm damn sure it's very awesome. And you will get a lot of knowledge from his post and his community. It's very wonderful community. And also, I would like to talk about how we can the question was how we can secure that, right? So one thing which I personally ask, ask question to Shiv about IEC 62443-4-1, which is talk about SDLC of the product actually. So I saw a lot of Indian companies are not following those SDLC. What do you think that government or any agency or regulation need to be float about SDLC in this case, or how what do you think actually about the
Yeah. So
SDLC
that's
of
a
the
very, very good question. And in fact, in power sector, it was made mandatory 3 years ago itself that the power industry, when they will procure these equipments, the company that is making these should be 4-1 certified. So that is the secure design and development. But in India, there is a bigger requirement of regulation that should come across the industry. And that's where we are slowly picking up. You are part of some of the committees, Arun, I know. And the next step there would be definitely creating those regulations and making it mandatory for the industry to follow this secure development life cycle. The regulations are, a push factor, but there could also be a pull factor where the industry itself recognizes the need of these secure design standards.
absolutely
And
correct.
we as the community are trying to do that when you are procuring something, you ask it yourself, irrespective of the government making it mandatory. So that's what we
Correct.
need, that we need more awareness of the people, and then they could ask us requirement of following secure development and also support after sales.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Shiv. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Over to you, Jenica.
Thank you. So our very third speaker for today's session is Sudhendu Lenka, who currently leads the cybersecurity and functional safety business at SGS India. He drives a strategic unit delivering product testing, compliance audits, and business development across automotive, industrial OT, medical devices, telecom, and consumer sectors, with deep expertise across frameworks such as IEC 62443, ISO SAE 21434, ISO 26262, IEC 61508, and NIST standards. He's going to walk us through cyber trust across borders, navigating certifications, regulations, and market access framework. A practical look at what it actually takes to get a product certified and get into global markets. Sudhendu, over to you.
Thank you, Jenica. Thank you all for warm welcome. So again, congratulations, Arun, for this good startup, and again to all the speakers. It was quite a nice and engaging session.
Thanks,
Now,
Sudhendu.
yeah, and I know I told that after you mentioned that I would be taking you across all those regulatory certifications and other thing. Now, like you mentioned in the start, for someone who was coming from like hands-on and all those things, regulatory part was a big jump.
Yes,
And
yes,
yes,
absolutely. That is needed actually, So
yes.
for moving from offensive to defensive, so there would be a regulation, there would be a standard they need to follow actually, and that's why I believe a lot of people, lack about this standard actually, and that need to be there, and that's the reason you are here. So
Thank you. I'm not
please.
sure I can cover everything. There are a lot many, but I think I will be just focusing more for like what are the globally what is happening mainly towards some product market access, and along with that highlighting our upcoming automotive regulations, which is built nothing built across the EU homologation paths.
Correct,
And
correct.
then little bit of to add what Shiv was also mentioning for those IC 62443 part.
So I would, before you start, I would like to mention for all audience, there is a huge gap for those standard over here in entire world. There are very few people can perform very specific standard they come up with actually. So like IEC 62443 4-1, 4-2, very few people are there. There are a lot of people who are IEC 62443
Hmm.
3-2 or risk assessment, and a lot of people are there. But 4-1 and 4-2, it's very few people are there. ISO 21434, R155, R156, and then there is something called CRA. It's upcoming, EU regulations. Very few people are in the market. If you go for those standard, I think so. It's a very kickstart, career kickstart for you guys actually, because very few. I'm telling you, very few people are in India. Very few people are there actually, and out of India as well. So this is the good thing for you guys actually. Please go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah, thank you, Arun. So one more thing, just to but first tell me like my screen is properly visible or not.
Yes, yes, visible.
Okay. All right, then thank you. So a brief about me. I'm Sudhendu Lenka. I think you already heard a little bit from Jenica. I am quite of technology enthusiast. Anything that runs on electricity piques my interest. I'm also into cosmos. I think I started to be a more of a physicist, but ended up being into this phase. Cybersecurity is something that interested me is because there are so many things. Every day you have to learn anything. You just take a break for 6 months and then boom, you are like leagues or ages away from the industry. There's so many things, so many industry, everything. I think today also Arun is going to speak about those upcoming satcoms and satellite cybersecurity, and the what Shiv talked about like industrial side. So I come from industrial automation, so I've been like building and programming for how the industrial environment would have like all SCADA system, working with PLCs, drives, and all those things. So those are all different exciting areas. So people who come from IT background, I really welcome everyone. You see those things, see how things work.
Sudhendu, I would just like to stop. Can you please share your screen again?
Oh, okay. I think
Thank you
I
so
just saw
much.
some kind of blinking happening.
Yeah.
All right. Yes. So that's how about. And apart from that, I keep myself energized with games. So I'm a gamer also. And whenever I find something, I keep on tinkering. So I believe that you should always keep your hunger alive, for hunger to learn, hunger to uh, do something new. And along with there are a lot of now When we started, there was very limited resources, but as you can see, there are huge plethora of resources available across internet with so many industry experts and practitioner. So yes, so just keep it open slate, keep your hunger, and yes, you have a great world to live in. So a brief about what we are going to discuss. Like why the certifications, regulations, and market access are required. Just to give a think, this is not what people think about more of traditional compliance. Compliance is there, GSC is there. Yes, they help to run business, but this is about understanding what actually runs business. Like if you say that I do a testing, like it's just a very brief example. If I have to give people or security enthusiasts are out there who do bug hunting or bug bounting. Now, bug bounty do help. I mean, it's definitely it's contributing. You are finding some good vulnerabilities, various infrastructure, various products, and you're helping organizations. But that is not what's running business, right? It's like if you don't know how to like tackle that, like what's the next part? Like finding weakness is one thing that either you will do or some threat actors out in the market would do or something. Even we can say like by an accident can also happen. Biggest example of like accident turning into what you call say business changing activities is like how if you remember when WannaCry was there. WannaCry wasn't stopped using some research or anything. It was just an accident. So similarly, how business is running, what is the impact? It is always something that matters more. So if you say that I did I did try to discover some kind of information out of this environment or something, but if that activity is not impacting anything, that's not impacting the business, it's not disrupting the workflow, your finding is just as good as just an informative thing. So, why cyber trust is a market access problem? I mean, okay, fine thing is that yes, certification is needed because when you're trying to sell your product, you need a license to sell it. I believe most of you or many of you must have seen your products, your chargers, and all having the CE marking, right? That's a European label. It's a European label of conformity. So similarly, there are some organizational level requirements for compliance. You must have frameworks to similarly to run those things to overlapping regimes and all. And if you see like this cyber trust thing requirements, it has rapidly evolved. Like what was initially just a best practice kind of thing, that best practice thing has become more and more of a concrete market access. EU is leading in this. Soon, other regions like in Asia, also Japan, Singapore, and various other have come up with their own regulation, with their own requirements. If you want to sell any product, if you want to build any infrastructure or provide any service, there are certain requirements that you have to follow. You can say it's also with the upcoming security and also the new AI sovereignty where borders like how data, how security is handled across borders matters a lot. Now, even across India or European Union, even USA, they're coming with their own cybersecurity trust marks. So it is no longer just assessed that okay, you have the product, you launched a product, after product somebody released a vulnerability, and then it is done. No. Instead, this is now becoming part of complete life cycle, product life cycle, including the product eligibility for sale, import, procurement, its continued operation. Now, this shift is very deeply rooted into these different three, I can say three forces. One, you can mention that the attack surface that's created by the connected product. your software-defined devices, your cloud-managed services, not to mention the new AI thing has been growing quite fast. And this has, I mean, quite dramatically expanded, leading to various high and connected vulnerabilities, and leading to even market recalls. So imagine huge batch of products worth millions getting recalled just due to some security issue, some kind of issue that could have been resolved during the production line or during the initial testing. Now, regulators hence have responded to this situation with like mandating all those secure by design principles. One regulation that Arun was mentioning about CRA, Cybersecurity Resilience Act, that's again EU leads in all those things. They have implemented talks majorly about this part. It's no more just like an after product or aftermarket testing. It's something that you have to incorporate from the design phase of your product. Now, second part is about your global supply chains. I mean, I know we are in India, I can talk, but it's not targeting any country, but products coming from China, products coming from Russia, like for US market, if you are there, if you have any of the product coming from Russia, it undergoes heavy scrutiny. Similarly, across the globe also, due to various threat actors, again, majorly maybe because they have been active in China and other regions. So any products are coming, and also China is a home to the most, or you can say, largest embedded systems. Hence, so these kind of restriction are there. In India, if you want to sell in telecom industry, any telecom products, and your supply chain is involving heavily products imported from China, including your firmware, including your chips and all, they need to have some level of conformity, or undergo heavy scrutiny, especially by the government labs. And third is like how the enterprise and governments, like I said, they routinely treat cybersecurity as a non-negotiable procurement. Even in India, Ministry of Telecommunication are working quite well and bringing up various regulation, trying to harmonize ICT products, elite, IT and telecommunication products for undergoing a uniform regulatory and testing requirements. Now, when I say regulatory, it is not just generic. I don't know if many people know, but in India also has its own government-based labs, STQC labs, which maintain the quality and standardization and generally deal with all this of testing. Now, that creates a little bit what you call a bottleneck due to a limited number of lab. But it's no longer just about that. Oh, okay, you just have some framework and then yes, your product is good. You need to comply with certain essential requirements, certain standards, and that involves again the three part, like your hardware, your software, and also your supply chain. So we will be, I mean, this again, this concept is starting from design to post market, like I was mentioning. So four items that I would say is like have changed from just post market thing is like secure design principles, assessment and testing, certification and validation, and yes, of course, the post market surveillance. Now, if you want or someone who's starting into this industry, I would say learning about standards, learning about test method, because various standard have their own requirements that you have to comply and all. So is a good way to start. You understand and you incorporate these activities starting from the design phase. And to mind, this is not just in IT industry; it goes across all industry. Even railways are also starting to incorporate this. Indian Railways standardization is basically handled by RDSO, and they are actively working also along with other global agencies and even big OEMs for improving the posture for Indian railway cybersecurity. Now, what's already live and what's coming? if to say these are the list of, we can say, regulation or standards that are already there. One, the hot topic that's actually going quite a much across the industry is about the Cyber Resilience Act, CRA. Now, why is it's about due to a penalty? I mean, let's be honest. If there is no penalty about regulation, I don't think anybody would care, and that's the reason I think in India also the regulatory landscape is quite weak till now. But India is changing; it's slowly changing. But yes, we have been quite late, and not just India, various countries across the globe are there. You can call Europe are the leaders in this. They have been having a lot many regulations. One of the existing regulation, even which I proactively work also, is radio equipment directive. It has been started or you can enforce since August 2025. And any product that has any radio component and directly or indirectly it connects to the network or internet falls under this regulation. And under this directive, if you are selling to the European market, then for your C marking, basically for your product market access, you would require RED certification. Many people think that if their product is doesn't directly connect to internet, and this is led to me to advise that most of I've seen many of the customer that I reach out to or they reach out to me have this issue because someone just suggested or someone just they use Google or like you said this modern AI chat tools and they just found out okay if your product as the regulation mentioned is connected to internet then it falls under this directive. So your product doesn't have any internet module or modem or anything, so you're good to go. But that's where they fail. And when the product lands or is placed on the market in the Europe, they undergo heavy scrutiny and as is pushed back or have to pay dues if they are directly selling without confirming. Now, the main point is like your device directly or indirectly. Anyway, if it is harming the network or could harm the network, then it falls under this criteria. So understanding these things are quite important, and that's how these you could say regulatory learning or regulatory awareness keeps you good in the market. Now, apart from that, India also has many have been following, if you're following in news or in LinkedIn, that India is having its own act, just like GDPR, like DPDP Act, Data Privacy Data Protection Act. It is going to again bring a lot of things. We are going to discuss this in upcoming slides. So, two you rules I already mentioned. Like one was radio equipment directive, and there is another NIST 2. It basically talks about what are the essential requirements that are there for your product. And it basically applies for the organization part. Now, NIST 2 is not a mandatory product access requirement, even though it has fines, it has dues, but it's more like you can say like how India also has its own certain directives. So it is more of like applicable to organization and it's essential and important, but it is not something that you require to sell your product. Now, like I was mentioning, for RED, if you fail to comply, penalties can go up to like 2 million euros or 2 or 4% of your annual turnover. And this is not whichever is less, but rather whichever is higher. All these things, they sit on top of GDPR. So it's definitely remains baseline for personal data. So if your equipment or if your environment, it handles personal data, so definitely you have to be compliant with GDPR. The big whale in this, this is the Cyber Resilience Act. It is under EU Regulation 2024 2847. It is the first horizontal, you can say, EU framework, and that is mandating cybersecurity requirements for all product. Even though it has been put in force from December 2024, Uh, Actually, since this year, it is something that is more or some kind of act that the manufacturers, vendors, or they need to do. So starting from 11th September 2026, the reporting part begins. Basically, you need to have, if you are a manufacturer, if you are a distributor, if you are a uh, going to sell this product as a ODMs also, you need to actively report any known vulnerability. Now, the catch is, as long as you don't know your vulnerability, you're legally not bound. But again, anyways, if your vulnerability is discovered by your own organization or someone reported to you or disclosed, then you must report these things to NISA and the commission. Now, there is a window for different. I won't go too technical deep in this. Again, my organization also is conducting one webinar. So we'll be talking quite a lot but in detail for CRA and how it incorporates with other organization. I will share definitely share with you all the details. Now, finally, from December 2027, the full implementation of Cyber Resilience Act is going to be. So if your product, say, is like sitting on your warehouse and you have yet to land it before 11 December 2027, then you have to fully comply with it. Now, if you are placing your product before December 2027, then yes, and you already received your CE marking, then you do not have to worry about this. But the catch is like it's not just like when they mention that you have placed a product in market, it's not like just registering a product in the market. It's about, so for example, you have 10 batches of product, you have landed 5 batches uh, before 11th December 2027, they with the marking, yeah, they are good to go. But if you're placing the product or it's going out of your warehouse and landing in Europe after 11 December, then you have to make those product comply. So that silver lining sometimes become quite crucial for you, because if you, yeah, if you are nearby, then it's definitely something that you should consider. And of Sorry. And of course, if you are, what you could say, uh, not complying, then yes, the penalty, like I was mentioning, is quite high. It's up to 15 million euros and or 2.5% of your annual worldwide turnover, whichever is higher. So, what are the important thing, or we can say the core ask is like the secure design, vulnerability handling, and definitely your regular updates, along with maintenance of technical documentation. Sorry, one thing I missed here is about how the scope has increased with CRA. Earlier, you thinks they dealt with either the software or some or the organization or framework. Now, CRA basically widens it with defining called product with digital elements like PDs. So any product that has digital element directly, indirectly, basically hardware, software, or any data processing, it needs to get complied by CRA. My bad. CRA again has some product categories. It has a risk based classifications. So one is the default category. Most of the products in the market they fall under this. If you're falling under this category, then you need to be having a self-assessment via internal control. You can There are a list of some requirement under annexers in CRA. You can follow that, or you can get any consultant to help you do that. This is basically on some standard essential software, consumer electronics, and IoT based risk. If you have already complied with NIS2, so I think you would be basically doing for most of the thing. Now, the next come, and this is important, like it's called also important class 1, then important class 2, and the critical. Now here, there's a twist, like most up, yeah, definitely the default or the essential requirement come to picture. But apart from that, you need to have a proper test based on any harmonized standards, or by a notified body or third party, reputed third party uh, laboratories or testing bodies. So, when we say about harmonious standard, again, there's a catch for class one and class two and critical. Now, class one says, yes, you can do a self-assessment, but again, you need to have follow us, or have done test based on the harmonious standards. Now, for CRM, various standards are still in draft. You can say one harmonized standard is like for RED, like RED, which we discussed earlier. There is a standard called EN 18031. It's a harmonized standard that can be, if you are complied with that standard, then you're good to go. Similarly, CRA gives one leeway that if you do not have, or there is no standard for your particular product on any harmonized standard defined by European Union, then what you can do, you can follow certain reputed or golden standards, like for major industrial products or for your automation products, you can follow IC 62443. Now, under that, there are two certifications, 62443-4-1, that generally certifies your process, and -4-2, which is for your product development lifecycle. Now, if you do not have any kind of, any particular standard for defined for your product, you can go, you can get these certifications, and still, until there is any harmonious standard coming picture, you are good to go. And again, for these two certification, you need to go to a third party assessment. Self certification is not possible for these two standards. So in short, even if someone might suggest you otherwise, but for class one, class two, and critical, you have to do third party assessments. This is quite important. So yes, these are a couple of, we can say, current essential assurance across automotive, consumer IoT, medtech, renewable energies, and all. As you can see across this slide, most of the cases, if you do not have any standard, you can basically use 62443. It's one of the standards. Apart from that, for consumer, if you're for Europe, you can use 18031. If you are using consumer electronics in UK or in Europe, you can get it standardized by EN 303645. Now, these two are harmonized standards. Similarly, for automotive, you have ISO 21434, and these are safety standards. And for medical tech, there are standards that you can use, like ISO IC 62304, and also some testing standards based on IC 81001-5-1. For if you ever see like these kind of standards like PREN 50742, these are some standards that are still in draft at the proposal state, and they will soon be, after finalizing, get as a harmonized standard. We have for robotics like ISO 10218. This also include your automated guided vehicles, AGVs, and even automated robot, like I think the smart vacuums, or like home assist robots also. Um, Now, coming to, like, after from Europe, we, like I had mentioned, they're similar we have for Asia Pacific region. Singapore's certification, um, they have their own cyber trust mark, CTMs. They have their cyber labeling scheme, CLS, and also Singapore supports, like, one of the countries to combinedly support common criteria that follows the standard ISO or IC 15408. Common criteria is under global CCRA scheme. Europe also has similar that supports for IC 15408. It is called EUCC. And just to say, these two are quite pricey certification schemes, but yes, it gives you a plethora of market access if you are compliant with this kind of market access. It is part of, we can say, mutual recognition certifications, where if you are certified at this one location, you can get market access to various different countries. we in my own organization also, and SGS is a TIC body, testing inspection certification. So we deal with various market access, and trust me, there are huge requirements for each different countries. You can get burdened just if say for example, your product might take like 8 to 10 months to get prepared, but sometimes you can take like 10 to 18 months just to clear your market access based on how prepared you are and how many regions you are selling your products. So this is quite important. I'm also pushing in India across with some other leaders to the government for improving mutual recognition for India also, like to avoid overlapping of various certification, various standards. And one best example I can give is like how Japan and Singapore are doing. So Singapore and Japan have this, and along with I think Korea also, they are starting this mutual recognition where if you are already certified or your product is certified under Singapore's label or Singapore's Cyber Trust mark, you can sell those products in Japan. You do not have to go Japan's native certification. So Japan has similar, they're called JC Star, and couple of upcomings are also there. In Vietnam also has a partial certification like QCVN is there for IP cameras. India also has similar, I will discuss later. South Korea also have their own privacy rules, their own ISMS certifications and all. China, definitely China has the strictest, if I have to say, like across the Asian region. So there are a huge number of certification and regulation, but again, they are totally supported and all by Chinese labs there. One example to give you why they have so matured. So for automotive industry, also Arun from automotive industry, in India, you have handful of OEMs and similar, there's some few more suppliers. China at the time they used to have 400 plus OEMs. Now it has obviously just we can say reduced to 140 sustaining one, but still that's a huge number. So that's a region they have quite developed requirements, and most of their labs and all are always working in line with government bodies. Coming to now the major thing for India. India has a little bit, I can say, weak regulatory. I mean, it had been a weak regulatory requirements. There is no mandatory thing. Directives, requirements are coming up, but they have not been that strongly marketed for product access. But slowly, the initiative was taken uh, in two regions. One is the power regions and energy, and second was or is you can say for telecom industry. So in this again, certain they basically help for all organization for advisories and all. They have their certain directives starting from 2022. It is legal binding, but again, that's a topic of some other days. They had various requirements. Few are like you must have 6 hour incident reporting, some 180-day log retention, VPN cloud provider. But again, these are all pertaining to organizational level rather than any kind of product manufacturer or supplier. Similarly, DPDP Act again, it's again for how you handle data for it basically uh, define what is a data fiduciary and all. So similarly, I think you can get a lot many uh, talks and documents across this. It is still not in full act, getting slowly and slowly partially enacted. But yes, we are soon going to get a full implementation under DPDP Act. And again, the other is the NCIIPC. They deal with the critical infrastructure. So there are some sector-specific oversight also, like for power, for banking. So anything that deals with critical infrastructure will have to go for under NPCI guidelines. Now, they generally, even though they started from 2014, certain sector specific, you can say, started with May 2026, and it was put gradually based on sectors. And I believe starting from October, no, yeah, in 2022, they had this mandatory part, especially one common overlapping, including the 6-hour incident reporting requirements. Now, one more point I want to add here. Again, the highlighted 62443 that was discussed and were like Shiv mentioned, it has been 2, 3 years that has been more of like formalized or made little bit of mandatory kind of thing across the industry. India also has its own translation for the 62443 series under BIS. BIS is a body that basically governs standards in India. It's IS 17614. And similarly, for functional safety, it has IS 15740 that basically translates to the international standard of IC 61508. Now, even though they mention these are voluntary thing, but again, if you're selling a product, you are going for market access of or you're bidding to government or to any other bodies, these are something that are sought out. So even though legally they are voluntary, but without these, it's difficult for you to continue your business. And yes, one more strict implementation is the cybersecurity audit by the energy industry CEA. So it has been a strict enforcement since June 2022. And I believe it has some annual kind of requirements where you have to do regular kind of audits. Uh, so now coming to the market access point, in India, you for automotive soon from end of 2027 and majorly from 2028, we are going to see requirements based on India's indigenous standard AIS 189 and AIS 190. Sorry, 190, which is nothing but more of like expanded translation for EU Homologation Act for UNR 155 and UNR 156, which deals with cybersecurity management system and software update management system. Now, again, for even though AI standards 189 and 110 are there, but if your organization is already implementing or has already implemented ISO 21434 and ISO 24089, then you are really good to go. You are well prepared. But beware if you are thinking that okay, we have quite some time, it's 2027, then please note that these kind of implementation takes from 10 months to 18 months from OEMs to even supplier. It's not easy. It's not just some checklist that you go and you market. You have to chain across your complete product development life cycle, starting from the concept phase of your product. So there and the uh, cost you can say on the price if you start it late is quite high. And even though these kind of requirements globally has always been a requirement for OEMs, but OEMs definitely don't do everything themselves, right? So through this tier one and through their suppliers, they are implementing. And if the law doesn't say or the legal binding is not there for the supplier, but for working with OEMs, you need to get compliant with these things. You need to have implementation of these kind of management system in your organization, along with implementation. That's important. So again, if anyone from the OEMs or from supply chain or anyone listening to this, I would recommend that you start as soon as possible. Even if you think a product testing or your production line or management system implementation may uh, take 2 to 3 months. It's a big myth. It generally takes quite a lot of time, especially if you're doing it right. Then for telecom industry, that's governed by DOT, Department of Telecommunication, and there is one certification called ITSA. It's governed by NCCS. And for it, like various any telecom products like routers or access points, even now firewalls have come into picture. Gradually, they're increasing the product like your PON devices and all. Um, Basically, any optical terminals used across in the telecom or internet areas. So if you are selling these products, you need to get ITSAR certified. And Only then you can sell. This is again, you need to be NCCS certified lab. Only those can do this testing. It is a very rigorous process. So yes. Uh, yeah, to go again, I will just run through. I know this long. I might take quite a long time for to go everything. So AIS 189, it's India's vehicle cybersecurity standard. Again, it's based on UNR 155. It is developed by ARI, Automotive Industry Standard Committee. It requires your cybersecurity management implementation, but if you have already done implementation based on ISO 21434, you're good to go. Now, to point highlight, what are the things you need to have? CSMS, you need to have product testing, and you need to have TARA, basically threat and risk assessment done. These are some core requirements. We can expand it further. So similarly, AS1890, it's about your over-the-air, or you can say software update part. Generally, it has now become over-the-air updates. And yes, it applies to various vehicle category, not just like earlier it was applicable to just the four-wheeler or the commercial vehicle category, but now it has come also to two-wheeler vehicle categories and other consumer vehicles. So some timelines, like starting, even though discussion and everything have been starting since 2024, soon this is going to get implemented. Recent, we also had a notification, and I think if by second half the companies don't start working on these things, so by the time this will be fully enacted, it would be very difficult. Now, two dates to two no, years to note, keep in mind is that 2027 and 2028 are the ones where AS 189 and 1890 is going to be fully enacted. And for old or existing vehicles, you still get some 1 hour, year additional window. But again, 10 to 18 months timeline requires for implementation and everything. So better you start soon. Now, this is again, this is not happening in isolation. EU, Japan, South Korea, various other markets, they are already implementing this. India was a little bit late, but if you say globally, the major market, automotive market, also sits in the Japanese and with the Europe. And yes, South Korea and US and other small markets have also working on this thing, and they are currently following these regulation. Now, US doesn't have any particular regulation standard, but under MORTH, their Ministry of Road Transport and Highways, they do follow or they do seek any kind of security requirements or safety conditions that need to comply with ISO 21434. That's the cybersecurity standard, and ISO 26262, the functional safety standard for automotive. Now, United States. Arun, do I have time, or I'm short on time? I see that it's already crossed two, so I hope I can take some 5-10 minutes more.
Yes, so we are running out of time. So
Yeah, I will just run it very fast.
yeah.
So US also has these various landscape. Now for market access, FCC certification is something that's mandatory if you are dealing with cryptographic modules or hardware security modules. That's important, and also for medical devices under FDA cybersecurity. Now, US still is working on their own cyber trust mark. It's still in with the Congress. So my peers and who are working in our US labs. So they keep constantly working with the government also, and AOS is developing. So again, similarly towards 2027, we can say 27 would be a big transition era for this regulatory landscape. Various countries are coming with huge kind of regulations and requirements, and if you are not following, I mean, this is not just about certification, but if you have not followed any harmonized standards to do any testing or do any or implementing the cyber hygiene, what we call, and cybersecurity policies across your industry, then you are in a big trouble. You need to start enacting now. Federal rules again with local layer of tops. So even for UAE market, there are certain requirements like for one market access like TDRA, and there are for Dubai electronic security guidance centers are also there. For AI, there is one more regulation like DIFC. Is there DIFC R10? So I do support. So we recently just executed one DIFC's certification. So only in globally, only three certifying bodies are there who do certify for this. One is a bank, and only two other companies, and also among those two organizations, one is just partially, and there is one full set of organization with our partner. They DIFC regulation deals with what can say a borderline for both AI regulation with the inclusion of certain cybersecurity uh, requirements. So yes, so these are some like frameworks that UAE uses. Uh, Dubai Electronic Security Center guidance. There is another Dubai like DIFC is there, and then National Cybersecurity Strategy is there. There are some assurance standards are there. Again, if in Dubai also, if you are complied with European standards and European regulations, you are highly preferred. So this is how the regimes generally compare, like who should be careful for what. If you are dealing with Cyber Resilience Act, the owner is manufacturer. Like for AIS, like say for automotive, vehicle OEMs are the one. But yes, apart from that also, you need to be like for supply chains and everything have to be there. So compliance will look depending on what you are. If you are a manufacturer OEMs, or if you're a vendor or importer or distributor or reseller, then based on that, the requirement changes. I highly advise you take help of expert for this, because a small kind of error can cost you millions for your business, and more than that, even put a market stop or a market impedance for you. So, what is the practical path forward? You map your footprints. Which product do you want to send to market? Mark which location you want. Understand using a consultant what kind of rules, what kind of standard applies to you. Have a good, strong core. You implement, like earlier, there was a basic quality management system queue. So you, along with that, you implement based on your industry specific quality management system. Based on that, then you start implementing various standards and try to do regular gap assessment, identify those gap, do then based on your expert, close those gaps, keep your paperwork ready, and yes, you are good to go. So something what's was to watch. These are certain timelines. So like I mentioned, since starting from second half of 2026, it's going to be more and more chaotic if you are not well started yet. So I would highly advise you prepare well, formulate like I explained, and yes, you're good to go. Thank you. Thank you all. And sorry, Arun, taking some little time. Yes.
No, no worries, no worries. That is very wonderful, session that everybody really want to understand the impact and the importance of the standard actually. And
Hmm.
this is, I believe, you covered lot of things with respect to all aspect, from the IoT to entire ecosystem, whether it come into the automotive, OT, or any segment, medical devices, or all those things. So you done wonderful job actually. So I hope everybody understood the those aspect of the entire uh, uh, of the aspect of the standards they have to implement in this case. And I'm telling you once again, there is a lot of job opportunities, career growth in those standards, because very few people are there to understand actual standards and implement with the OEM actually. So let's take some questions, Sudhendu. That
Sure.
one of the question is how do telecom vendors monitoring vulnerability after product deployment? It's related to telecom industry.
Yeah, so two things for where you're selling your product in India, if you're doing your telecom products, basically need to telecom network products need to be ITSAR certified. And currently, DOT and NCCS, they're working on making these things earlier it was very version specific, but like how the firmware, like hardware, you can still maintain a version, but you need to have this updates and all, and marketing for, or sorry, marking this certification for a particular version becomes difficult. Now for continuous monitoring of this product, again I have to say you should have a proper cybersecurity management system deployed, and post at regular, do regular vulnerability scanning, regular cybersecurity activities, like do regular gap assessment, follow define a proper policy for your organization. If you are a consumer of those telecom products, then definitely you, just as any other product, you need to uh, keep on do regular assessment of those products and environments. And if you're a manufacturer, definitely more than that. And yes, you need to keep reporting any kind of known vulnerability that you find to the DOT, so that you do not fall under any kind of legal implications.
Thanks. Thanks, Sudhendu. One more question. I have a mobile app connected product which
Hmm.
I'm selling to EU.
Hmm.
Do I need CRA compliance for both mobile app and the product? Very good question, actually. Very awesome question.
Yes.
And I think so you're the best one to understand, give give the answer actually.
So to respond, you have a mobile app, and what can you
The
repeat this app?
product, the
Okay,
mobile
product.
app is going to connect with the product itself.
Hmm. Yes, for CRA, you need to have it certified both. I mean, the complete product and mobile app, yes, they are covered. Uh, what is not covered, if your product is a legacy kind of hardware, then it is exempted if it is placed again before the expected date that I mentioned. Now, if you are again landing this product before the exempted date, like December 11, 2027, then you just need your mobile device to be certified, not the application. But for even the device to be tested, your companion app need to be tested at least, or they should be in report. You don't need it to be certified, but it will definitely get tested, because that will also determine how your device is affecting your environment. So let me give you a small example. Say if your companion app is not tested, uh, if you're doing it before 2027 as per CRA, and you just did your mobile device as the testing and certification, definitely you won't get completely. But say in self-declaratory you did it, then if through those app the mobile can be compromised and the mobile is affecting the network, then you are non-compliant. So, yes, you need both to be certified if you're going for CRA. If you're selling again before December 2027, then your app is exempted.
Yes. So also you have to understand that whether you are a OEM, whether you are distributor or a seller in this part of CRA, and that defines all aspect actually. And we
Right.
have to check whether these devices comes in class one, class two, or important category. And there is
Correct.
a misconception also. There is a default also, default class one and the classes and the important. So you have to understand that whether your product is going to be which class, and depending on whether you can do DOC by itself from the manufacturing point of view, or you need third party body to perform those aspects. It's very important aspect actually. So then I will take one more question actually over here.
Sure, sure.
It's related to automotive. So
Hmm.
already in automotive, UN R155 has a
Hmm.
wireless attack covered. How
Hmm.
does RED varies from this regulation?
Okay. Now, good question. Thank you. So, if your product, now again, what your product is, it varies defined. Now, if your product or if your component, let's say if you have an instrument cluster that you're selling to automotive industry. Now, here's the catch. If you are selling it for normal consumer vehicles, then you're exempted under RED. You have to get it compliant under 21434, or you can say R155 requirements. Now, if your product is an instrument cluster you're using for off-road vehicles or for commercial vehicles like or excavators or similar kind of vehicles, then you are to be certified under CRA or CERED. So this is a big mark where you are selling a product. And also to note, if that particular component is manufactured by the OEM and being used by the OEM, then they are exempted from this RED. If they are already compliant under 21434. But if the same manufacturer or OEM selling those product or those component as a standalone product or just putting in the market as aftermarket, then those product need to be CE compliant. So here's the catch: how you are selling the product and for which industry or for which particular environment the product is. Based on that, whether you need CE or you're good with 21434 defines. Yes, Arun.
Thanks. One more question. That is the last one, actually,
Sure.
because it's a
Sure.
lot of people asking about the CRA and the automotive standard. Is very important aspect over here. So,
Sure.
what are the things that OEM miss while acquiring the AIs 189 190? And
Mhm.
if we were to build a software to close the gap between
Mhm.
OEM and the certification body, what
Mhm.
kind of software or AI would you suggest me to build actually?
Oh,
It's very
I think
tricky. It's
yeah, I
too
know
many things
I
actually in
too
one
many
question.
things, and I would say most of the answer would be for my trade secret or my business. So it's basically giving away my business part. But yeah, let me take it this way. So when I say like what OEMs or supply chains miss for 189, 190 is like they treat this as a checklist. I think even if you ask my good friend here, Shiv Kataria, he's into OT industry, and I've been also working in industrial automation. Various people even treat this old longing IC 62443 just as a checklist. But it is what Arun was mentioning earlier. It's a huge thing. It's not just simple, just as you can take a checklist and you can mark it, okay, it's complying or not. It's a whole other level of implementation. Similarly, for 189, 190, when I say certain requirements are there, it do deals with how you are enacting those security. Now, let's say you're doing a very small activity, a common activity. I think now it has been very popular. Is like about TARA, threat analysis and risk assessment. Now, when you're going for the TARA, how the TARA is being done, what is your scope? Where is the item? Where is the system? How you deal it? That matters. Sometimes people just treat as can get confused between a system level TARA and between a component level TARA. Similarly, when OEMs generally go, maybe due to incorrect information or someone sold them wrong, when they go for this similarly like R155 or you can say 189 or implementation of 21434, they do not know what like they have to implement. Are they going for a management system? The requirements are different, or they are actually going for a product level certification where the requirements increase. You need to have a proper evidence for implementation using on one executed project. You need to have the whole process of complete product development lifecycle to be secured under 21434. So all these angles are there where companies get confused or they miss it.
Yes, yes.
And to add, what AI tool? I think you can just to any AI tool. One thing that you can automate is that again, based on the standards, there are certain requirements. You can maybe automate those to help you for some question answers. Again, that is checklist, but that is not something that will help you for actually doing the assessment. Another thing that you can do in automation is basically when there is document review. This is also one of the major parts of these things standards. So those document review part you can automate, but definitely you need a human in the loop to do it correct. Yes, Arun.
Yes, thank you so much, Sudhendu, for this wonderful session actually. And I hope everybody understood the implications and the importance of the entire, having those standard in the industry. So let me switch to my, my topic actually. So I'm really sorry. It's still we are, you know, going for the entire aspect for this presentation. So now cannot start my video because it's disabled by the host. Jenica, can you please?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So now, okay, I'm visible, right? Yeah. So, okay. So let me share my screen. I'll keep it over here. And screen two. Okay. So now we are going to start fourth topic, that is satellite hacking 101. And in this topic, we are going to understand about the basics, very basics of the what are the things we required to perform, satellite hacking or pen testing or any cybersecurity research in this case. And then we will have 101, 102, 103 series in the entire, CyberX community, CyberX Village community. So let me start this one. So I would like to introduce myself. I'm Arun Mane. I'm a founder and CEO of. Let me. I think so. Play use time show media control. Okay. Now should not move automatically. Okay, fine. So I'm Arun Mane, and I'm founder and CEO of the Amnesic Labs and Uno Academy, and also founder of CyberX Village community. And also, I'm a co-chair at a certain that is the working group called as Vehicle Cybersecurity, where we talk about where we implement those frameworks and many things actually over here as part of you know part of the cybersecurity working group in this case. So that's the one thing, and I'm also the international conference speaker and trainer, and I would like to train people. I would like to talk about the technical stuff and giving technical talks on different topics. So that's I would like to do all the time, and that's why we started CyberX Village to spread all knowledge across the world actually. And I'm a cybersecurity researcher. Still, I'm newbie. I consider as a newbie. Still, I'm learning. So that's I do all the time, and I cannot stay away from the technical stuff. So by choice, I'm always a cybersecurity researcher over here. So what is the agenda over here? We are going to understand what is the SATCOM, satellite communication, and then we will understand the how the orbits works, what are the frequency component, and the protocols somehow, and some sort of architecture. After that, in the next 102 or 103 and 104, all practical stuff's going to be happen because we have something as an open source project we would like to show you, and we are also going to showcase in other conferences as well. So what exactly the SATCOM or satellite communication or satellite in this case? So SATCOM or satellite communication enables global information exchange. So you can see over here the one-way satellite communication, two-way satellite communication. So if you see the satellites are communicating with those ground station or antennas over here, right? So it may be uplink and downlink. We'll come to know what is uplink and downlink. And this is simultaneous uplink and downlink. So there would be a chances that uplink or downlink it will not happen at the same time in this case. Okay, so space-borne relay for the signal transmission. Okay, and it operates independent of ground network availability and critical for global connectivity and the coordination. What do you think that if something happen or attack happen on the entire the satellite ecosystem? So you can imagine the impact of those attack on the satellite communication, right? So this is the very critical aspect comes into the picture. There are many agency out there out of India and India as well. So they are specifically taking care of those space actually. It's taking care of those aspect when it comes to satellite communication. So uh, uh, who is the best company? I would say not best, the upcoming or very prompt company in the world in this case. It's from the Elon Musk, right? So they have more than 12,000, more than, I believe so, 10,500 satellites in the orbit as of now. Okay, so these are things are these technologies going beyond scale now. Okay, so we have to understand the how the entire if you see on the global perspective, or rather we can say the high level in this case. So the SATCOM matters, as I said, it's covers a lot of area and on entire Earth actually, whether it is the terrestrial network or whether it is urban networks in this case. So it provides the connectivity in such a environment or such a place where you cannot get the signals over there. It also supports for military application, aviation, maritime communication. So maritime communication is a very specific aspect over here. As we know, there are a lot of war situation is going on. So there are many aspects coming into the picture because the attackers nowadays attacking on the space or satellites or satcoms over here. So maritime communication in the sense the ships are in the seas, it's very difficult to get the data transmission over there, and that's why they always rely on the satellite communication or satcom in this case, and also used for enable emergency response and disaster recovery. And it's also backbone for worldwide broadcast and data services. So we have, the companies in India also, they are relying on those aspects as well in this case. So what are the core segment of the SATCOM over here? One, it's a space segment, which includes, you know, which includes the satellite and transponder. So its transponder is nothing but it sends the signals to the satellite or send data to the satellite in this case. And then it comes the ground segment where which have antenna and the control station. So it's nothing but the particular area where they have particular directional antenna which towards the satellite, and they send the signals actually which comes with antennas and the ground stations. Nothing but they're sitting in the ground station, and they rotate the entire antenna with respect to the satellite locations and many aspects. I'm just giving the one example over here. And user segment involves mobile and fixed terminals. Definitely, if you have satellite communication, they have some sort of the applications of satellite communication. So that could be your mobile phone or any terminals which can held in the military area, which can held in on the, I would say, marine or ships in this case. Each segment ensures continuous link reliability. So you can see over here, so one satellite So here, the one satellite communicates with a lot of user over here, or applicable users over here. Some sort of urban area, rural area, and the remote area, which have applications to, aviations, maritime, homes. It connect with the automotive and many things actually. So based on that, as Sudhendu said about talked about the lot of standards, right? So based on that, standards also get changed over here because they have satellite applications over here, right? So that relies, or that standard includes those aspects actually. So we have satellite standards in India, which is initiated by the CERTIN as well. So cybersecurity standard. So you can go. It's freely available, that particular information on CERTIN. And I would say CERTIN is taking very good initiatives nowadays in the satellite space, particularly, and automotive, OT, and many aspects actually. So it's a happy thing, or what we can say, the India is growing towards that particular aspect actually. So how satellite works in this case, we have user link and feeder link in this case. So if you see in the diagram, so the communication request come from the marine applications, or come from the aviation part, and they send it to the satellite. Okay, and nothing but they actually, the communication request send it to the network operation center, and then it goes to the satellite operation center. So network operation center and the satellite operation centers, which are connected to each other. So there are many aspects. Master control systems comes into the picture. Housekeeping data comes into the picture. The data which can be accessed as a payload, we send it to the satellite. We'll see in the another slides as well. So as of now, we just consider that we have ground station and we are sending data to satellite, and this is where we get the another information which is coming from the, whether it is bidirectional or unidirectional in this case. It goes to again ground station, and then ground network, and then goes to the network operation center. That is how it works actually, if you see. So there are satellite orbit in this case. So definitely, if you talk about satellite, the satellites always stay in some sort of orbit, and for that we have to understand those terminologies actually in this case. So they call it as a GEO, MEO, and LEO. So you can say GEO, MEO, and LEO, which determine the coverage and the latency actually. So GEO provides fixed coverage at the 36,000 kilometer from the Earth surface. So you can see Earth surface to 36 kilometer away. That satellite stays over there, and it provides the coverage. MEO is again a balance at speed and coverage efficiency, and the LEO supports low latency broadcasting network. So we'll see what are those orbits are there, what are the application of those orbital satellite we have actually, or we can say the satellites which are roaming in that particular coverage or orbits actually. So let's understand the frequency, because everything is, we don't have a wired communication from ground station to satellite. It won't be possible at all. That's why they have wireless communication. When we say wireless communication, again RF communication comes into the radio frequency comes into the picture, and those frequency have some sort of bands, because we have to send data, right, data to that particular satellite. So there are categories over here, like C, KU, KA band serves a different application. We call it as a C-Ka bands actually. Higher frequency offers greater data capacity. So whenever you have higher frequency like 1 gigahertz, 2 gigahertz, 3 gigahertz, 4, 12, and 27 gigahertz, that means you have a higher frequency, offer greater data capacity. So what is the application of SATCOM over here? You wonder about how about the dish TV in this case. So definitely we turn on the TV, and our dish antenna is connected to our set box, and then we saw those videos actually, and you can see those videos are having data capacity is huge when they use. And definitely, if you have data capacity, huge data capacity, or you have to transfer or receive the huge data, that means your frequency would be very huge in this space. So, and higher frequency, lower band resist rain fade better actually. Okay, so we have lower bandwidth. That means it's resist the rain, or rather we can say cloud or rain. In this case, it's directly penetrate that thing. Frequency choice depends on the mission requirement. So all, as I said, KUKA, K, C, KUKA bands. There are many bands are also there, X band or Ku or K or Ka band. So these bands, it's always depend on the application, what application you are using the SATCOM actually. So the challenges in SATCOM in general is what the signal delays due to distance to satellites. So definitely the orbit rotate. It's all depending on the rotation and the satellite orbit rotation as well. So that means satellite is in the orbit. With respect to that, we have to rotate our trajectory of the what we can say, the satellite, or rather we can say ground station antenna actually. So signal delays due to distance to satellite. Weather affects high frequency transmission. So definitely, if you have a lot of rain at your place actually, there would be a high chances that you will get very less data, or yeah, someone is streaming the entire data or something, and you're not getting that particular data or video, because of where weather actually it affects. If you send high frequency transmission in the weather, or when you have some sort of heavy rainy situation, or any disaster disaster situation in this case, so definitely it affects the higher frequency transmission. Requires accurate antenna alignment and calibration. It's, as I said, we have to align with that particular satellite, because it's a directional antenna, I would say. Regulatory coordination for orbital slot usage. So there is you cannot send your satellite in the orbit, because there is a lot of regulations are there, and every orbit have their own applications in this case. So we have to register or convey to that regulatory body whenever you send. So here, so as I said in the previous slide, SATCOM ensures global connectivity. That is the application, enables communication in crisis and war zones. You understand the applications nowadays, what is the situation is happening in the world right now, in the war between the Russia and Ukraine, and the eastern side actually. So there are many things are happening. So that is the applications of SATCOM is going on. Supports scientific and commercial space ventures, and foundation for secure worldwide information exchange. So let's understand how orbit and bands, component works actually. So if you see the here geo satellite, which I say that the geo satellite is 35,800 kilometers away from the surface of the what we can say Earth in this case. And MEO satellite is from 5,000 to 1,200 kilometers away from the Earth, surface of the Earth. And you have a LEO satellite, which is from away from, it's around 160 to 2,000 kilometers away from the surface of the Earth. And that's how the entire satellites, rotate around the Earth actually. So what is the meaning of GEO? GEO is a geostationary orbit. So if you see in the diagram, geostationary orbit is from, it's mile away, 22,236 mile away from the surface of the Earth actually, which provides the constant coverage to specific region. So if you see the angle, if you see the antenna, And if I do projection, right? Sorry, projection from antenna to particular surface of the earth, that means it cover a huge area actually. So that means it provides constant coverage to specific region, ideal for TV broadcast and weather satellite. So that means the frequency is huge. It's around like what, 10 gigahertz to 27 gigahertz maybe. So because they are using for TV broadcast and weather satellites. So that's why it covers a huge area when it comes to geo. So with the help of physics, if you uh, calculate the angle which is coming from the tip of the satellite, actually it covers a huge area of the earth. So experience higher signal latency issues. Yes, obviously. So it experience because of some weather condition, because of lot of aspect over here in particular area. MEO is in this case called as medium earth orbit. So its altitude is around from 10,000 to 20 kilometers from surface of the earth actually. It's common for navigation and communication system, and it balance latency and coverage area advantage. Need moderate satellite constellation for reach. So in MEO is nothing but for the navigation system they are going to use. So whenever you have a satellite which gives you the coordinations or coordinates in this case, so they are using the MEO orbit. They always satellites in the MEO orbit. So this is what the low Earth orbit. It operates between 500 kilometer to 200 kilometers in this case. So enables low latency broadband service. So whenever you see you're getting a data packets or nothing but you're surfing internet from the satellite, they always stay in the low Earth orbit in this case. So these are the low orbit. And who are the biggest user over here? Or rather, we can say vendor, Starlink and OpenWeb. So OpenWeb and Starlink are the biggest vendor in this area actually. So as I said, the Starlink have more than 10,500 to till 2030. It will be like 15 to 16,000 satellites will be there actually in the MEO. Sorry, in LEO, low Earth orbit. So again, there would be highly chances that they can perform recon, they can perform some sort of military application, they can perform for a various aspect or give the connectivity to that particular area or state or rather we can say country in this case. So many aspects, and these are the biggest responsibility. Again, if you have huge responsibility, then again you have a lot of consequences in this case with respect to the technology. So that is the thing actually when it comes to LEO orbit. So frequency band details, as I said earlier as well. So it comes from L type of band to Ka band. So it's all depending on the where they use actually. So Ka band is for high throughput broadband data. So if you see Ka, it's 27 to 40 gigahertz. X band reserved for defense application. So see 8 gigahertz to 12 gigahertz for the defense application. Ku band, that is 12 gigahertz to 18 gigahertz for the broadcast and aircraft link actually. It's nothing but acres and other application comes into the picture. Not exactly the acres, but other protocols comes into the picture. And C band for resilient commercial communication. That is the C band over here. So this is how the bandwidth comes into the picture. So if you come from 1 gigahertz to 40 gigahertz, so every aspect have a you know uh, disadvantage and advantage in this case, and that's how it comes into the picture. So we'll talk about the space segment. So satellite carries the payload and transponder module. So nothing but the satellite have a transponder which sends the data and the payload. The payload would be like camera, it would be anything in this case, which is essential for the communication or essential for the that particular mission. So that is called as payload. So onboard power system and the antenna arrays. So we call it as a OPC, onboard computer system. So it it have basic specifically they have some sort of FPGA chipset which control other payloads and the onboard applications, and they send the data to the ground station. So that is the work of onboard. So that can be based on risk architecture or ARM architecture, and they have specific standards when you utilize those components on the satellite. So you have to go through that standards as well, and then you can implement the satellite itself. And again, maintain communication relay between the all stations. So if you're not connecting with a once ground station, if you have a lot of relays, it's all depending on the application of usage of your satellite communication, it will relay that communication controlled via telemetry tracking and command system, the entire aspect. Ground station. So earth station send and receive radio signal. So that particular ground station over here actually, and it includes control center and monitoring facility. So control system they can see all the data which is coming from the satellite that comes into the, so it's kind of MNS, that is MCS, mission control systems actually, and provides interface for user data and exchange in this case. So that's how it communicate and send the data to the user segment actually. Signal flow. So again, the comprises the end user terminal and the portal device, which includes VSAT antenna for the field connectivity, which enables user to access satellite networks and those aspects. So what here, there are two aspects comes into the picture. One is uplink and downlink actually. When you have uplink, that means you're sending data from ground station to satellite, that called as uplink. And downlink is nothing but you're sending data from satellite, you're getting data from satellite to ground station, that is downlink. This is the main difference actually. Where you attack, that matters a lot actually. So you're attacking on the uplink or downlink. So when you attacking on uplink, that means you try to control the satellite itself, right? So nothing but it's kind of attack on that uplink communication, and which you try to communicate on the satellite in this case, maybe a trajectory direction, maybe, or anything in this case, or you intercept the communication, or you intercept the data itself. Downlink is which is data is coming from the satellite to downlink. So you have SDR and everything, software defined radios, and you intercept that particular communication, and you decrypt that particular communication, and you understand what exactly is happening in the communication between satellite to the ground station. So that is called as the downlink actually. So ground receiver decode and deliver the data stream, and it's a continuous cycle ensures the real-time communication. Link budget basics is nothing but it calculate total gain and loss in the path, the entire communication from the whether it is uplink or downlink. Consider antenna gain and propagation loss. So where it antenna gets propagate, which direction, that is also we need to consider that. Ensure reliable signal to noise performance. So there would be a lot of noise will come from the external environment, and used for design and network optimization. So when they create or when they create a satellite or ground station, these are the aspect they have to consider actually. So nothing but we have a transmitter, then higher power amplifier, which amplifies the signal. We have feeder cable, and we have a transmitter, actually the antenna, and it sends the uplink signal to the satellite, and satellite process that particular data and send it back to the receiver, which is again the ground station. And they have feeder, and then we have low noise amplifier, which there are some modulation techniques. They reduce the noise out of it, and then it receives the data. Actually, that's how the entire communication happens. So we are not going deep dive into this. This is part of 102 actually, the protocol and data transmission. This will skip as of now, but we are going for the entire applications over here. So DBS standard basics over here, the standard for satellite television broadcasting system. So DVB system you have uh, at your home in this case. So satellite television broadcast that particular system employs the QPSK modulation for signal encoding. So nothing but it encodes the signals, and which there are different kind of modulation technique. We'll see in 102 aspect, actually 102 aspect. What is the modulation technique, encoding in this case, which happens on the particular frequency, and provides robust error correction and efficiency. And then foundation for modern digital broadcast standard. There's nothing but we have MUX and DMUX preferably over here, and we have outer coder, then converter lever and inner coder, baseband shaping and QPSK modulations in this case, and to the RF channel. So it's nothing but it's from here to entire to reach to satellite channel. We have some sort of coding mechanism or modulation mechanism we have to perform. The same way in this case that VSAT architecture. So nothing but very small aperture terminal for remote connectivity. So very small aperture, they have some sort of devices. It will show you that particular devices in the 102, and those devices also very risky in this case. There are a lot of Chinese based and the US and EU based terminals they use for different application, and they put on the some sort of particular region. They communicate to satellite, and these terminals have hardware vulnerabilities as well. So there are many case studies are there where the attacker control the entire terminal itself, and they shut down the entire terminal because of the credentials are weak or hard coded credentials are weak over there. So the hardware type of attacks you can perform on those terminals as well in this case. So those terminals are handheld device that can be it's a huge devices as well. It's all depending on the application or how portability they have with respect to the uh, the satellite, or rather we can say terminals in this case, which consist of hub, satellite, and the user terminal, commonly used to corporate and marine time networks. So whenever you see the ships, they send the data or send data to their that particular command and control. They use they use those terminals actually. So provides two-way data and voice service in this case. So ground station, if you specifically see in this case, so we have the workstation that is someone is from the internet who is going to connect with the office LAN. We have a jump server because they really don't want to expose any internal ground station machines or anything in this case. Generally, they use VPN and they connect with the mission control system, which have all the data, housekeeping data in the uh, housekeeping, that means HK data. And what are the data which are collected over here in the some sort of historian server. And internally in office also, these people are connected over the MCS. So that is mission control systems. HK, that is housekeeping data, is nothing but the status of the satellite, temperature, the location, GPS location, many aspect comes into the picture, and that's how we see the dashboard where the satellite is moving or which state it is actually the particular satellite in actually. So this is the entire MCS, and we have ground station network which is connected to MCS, and we direct we caliber that directional antenna to particular satellite. So this is how the ground segment and in detail and the space segment. So there are many attacks can happen in the ground station as well. Once attacker have a foothold in the ground station architecture or ground station network, he can do many aspects. He can relay that communication, replay that communication. They can inject their data in the satellite, or rather in the communication, and also the ground station specifically. These ground station is controlled by a lot of PLCs or any I mean to say the instrumentation devices, instrumental net devices, can be PLC, can be ID or anything, BMT server or anything in this case. And these, as you know, Shiv also told, he discussed about the 40 to 50% they use Modbus communication. And as you know, the Modbus communication is clear text. So some of the server or someone is compromised already. In this case, he can pivot himself to the ground station and he can change the trajectory of the ground station also. So he can shut down the where. So am I audible properly? Say
Your
yes in
voice
the
is
chat.
not audible. Little bit. Yeah,
Now,
yeah, now it's fine.
I think Arun sir must be facing some network issues. Let's give 5 minutes more.
am I audible now? I'm really sorry about my, maybe it's a technical problem. Yeah.
Yes, sir, you're audible and visible.
Okay. 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 So I was on the part where the ground segment and the space segment over here. So it's nothing but the Alice, it's connected with the jump server, and jump server is connected with the MCS, and the Bob workstation is connected with the MCS. This is operational LAN, and then it goes to the ground station and space asset. So generally, a lot of attacks happen on the ground station. If attacker have a foothold on the this particular area, ground segment, he can perform, or he can inject their HK payloads. When I say HK, it's kind of housekeeping data over here. And he can turn and turn off the entire ground station as well. That could be a possibility, because the entire automation over here, with the help of PLC or anything in this case, right? So this particular things can be happen over here, and we have then they send a data sent to the space segment over here. So we have satellite components. So every satellite have some sort of the components which are installed on the satellite. We have command antenna, we have communication antenna, we have solar cells, and we have miniature batteries inside to activate or run the onboard computers. Radio RX and TX, we have fuel also need to be there from some cases, and motors have thruster, we have cameras that acts as a payload over here. There are many aspects with respect to component. You see in detail when you manufacture or when you design, especially the satellite. So these are the aspect comes into the picture, and each aspect connected to each other actually. So hardware testing of this satellite is need to be there. There are many aspects coming into the picture. Those devices can be feasible to attack, or rather we can say someone can attack from satellite to satellite in this case, because the entire attack strategy is evolving in the case of satellite as well in this case. So these are the subunits of satellite with specific functionality. So AD and C, that is attitude determination control, command and data handling, electric power distribution, propulsion system, subsystem, structure and mechanism, telemetry tracking and command, and thermal subsystems. So what is the modulation which determines the data actually? Nothing but modulation is, there are frequency modulation, amplitude modulation. These defines the how we data sent actually on which frequency in this case. So QPSK and HPSK used for balance efficiency, which checks the forward error correction, enhanced reliability, and which gives the proper encoding mechanism, which gives the integrity in this case, not exactly the integrity, but the error correction in this case. So this is one open source project. We are working on that. It's going to release soon, and we are trying to release in the some of the conferences as well. And this is we have HackSat project actually. This is open source project. We created, this is the satellite overview. And the satellite, we call it as a Agni satellite actually. It's an Indian name. And Agni satellite communicates with the ground satellite over here, which on the LoRa. So LoRa actually, why we choose LoRa? Because LoRa gives the different kind of modulation, and which help to decode those signals. So it gives practical aspect of that particular satellite communication hacking. And this is what we have a dashboard where we can see the satellite antenna tracking, and these are the some sort of the HK data. So status, antenna, signal, system. You can turn and turn up the ground station. So it's nothing but from the ground station to satellite, we have the entire ecosystem, and where all researcher or cybersecurity expert or cybersecurity who really want to come into satellite hacking aspect, they can perform those aspects. They can hack the entire communication. They can hack the entire the ground station as well. All realistic hacking, it's going to be happen in the simulations. So it's nothing but you have to spawn the entire GitHub repo. We didn't release yet, but I think so next 2 weeks we are going to release that thing, and this is we are going to give the trainings in the futures for satellite hacking. We are making more and more robust over here. As of now, it's a modular design actually, but this is the first version actually, and second version is going to be more efficient and more reliable in this case. So this is how the project initiation we are initiated actually in this case. So this is how we concluded the entire session over here because of some time restriction, but definitely in the upcoming session we'll have one or two, and we are introducing more and more kind of sessions with respect to a specific niche field as well in this case. So any questions or in this case? So I can, you can unmute if you want and ask this question. Jenica, is there any questions?
We have one question from Weber. He asks that which regulations cover the protection of GNSS modules?
GNSS module. I really don't know about the cybersecurity regulation for GNS module, but there is a cyber certain as with respect to I'm talking about Indian government. Certain have a space regulation. If you search on the Google, you will get that particular aspect actually. But internationally, still I'm exploring those regulation. I started with offensive now, and slowly we are moving to regulation. But I will come up with some regulation part in the next, one or two actually in this case. But there are regulations which need to be covered, which need to be there in the GNSS model. But as part of the Indian certain, they have regulations recently launched.
Okay, sir, I think that was the only question for you today.
Yes, thank you so much, guys. And this is our first meetup. We are still learning, we are still evolving, and thank you for your support to come and join. In the I mean to say on the on Saturday actually.
Before we wrap this up, we just want to say a huge thank you for all of you for being a part of our very first CyberX Village session. Your energy, your questions, and honestly just showing up in these numbers means the world to us. A special thank you to our incredible speakers as well, Vismit, Shiv, Sudhendu, and Arun sir himself for sharing your time and expertise with us today. Sessions like these simply don't happen without people willing to give back to the community. So this was just the beginning of CyberX Village. We've got a lot more planned, including automotive, ICS, satellites, drones, medicals, robotics, IoT, and industrial red teaming villages. They're all on the way. So stay tuned, follow along, and we promise that this won't be the last time we do this. Thank you once again, and see you all at the next round. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you all. Thank you, Arun, for the session.
Thank you.